Renegade here, or R, as I signed my Facebook post. You all know me by now. I do not like to waste your time with getting to the topic at hand. I like to make a point and let you decide things for yourself. In this video, I will cover the kidnapping plot of two sitting governors and who some of the men are. I will feature an individual who is calling for the same. I will cover the unrest planned for Election Day until Inauguration Day by the left. So let's get started. Look, many were part of groups like we all have attended at one time or another, where we just train and mainly bullshit. Unlike most of that bullshit we all have done sitting around that old campfire, most don't take it a step further. Now, these men did discuss kidnapping. Michigan and Virginia's Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Ralph Northam during a meeting this year. They took it further, and now look where they're at. Special Agent Richard Trask testified in Grand Rapids, Michigan during a pre-trial hearing of 6 men facing federal charges and an alleged plot to kidnap Whitmer. Trask described a June 6th meeting in Dublin, Ohio, when anti-government groups from multiple states aired their grievances against Whitmer and Northam for locking down businesses in their bid to curb the spread of coronavirus. Trish told the court, without naming Northam, they discussed possible targets, taking a sitting governor, specifically issues with the governor of Michigan and Virginia based on the lockdown orders. Trish said there were about 15 people at this meeting, including 2 suspects in the Whitmer's plot, Adam Fox and Barry Croft. In the hearing reviewed by the government's evidence against Fox, Croft, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Serta, Croft is in custody in Delaware, and the other 5 are being held in Michigan. It wasn't immediately clear if alleged plans to attack Virginia's governor ever developed further, or if they'd be charges brought in regarding Northam. Lawyers for the accused might have offered a preview of defense strategy, suggesting that the defendants had limited means or actual intent to carry out the threat they're accused of making. Scott Graham, a defense lawyer for Frank, asked Trish, let me quote him, "You find a lot of people who talk about things, but they're never a threat to anyone or will do anything. It's fairly common in these groups, big talk between crackpots. You've seen that, haven't you? People who talk a lot brashly, boldly, but are never going to do anything about that but talk." Northam said he and his staff were told about ongoing threats, but he didn't elaborate. Northam told reporters in Richmond, "I will not work under intimidation. That's not who I am." Northam drew a direct line between the accused plotters and President Donald Trump, who urged governors in April at the pandemic's deadliest height to end lockdown measures aimed at curbing the virus. Northam said, "And I realize I have been in this long enough to know that not everything we do is agreeable to all Virginians. But when language is used, such as to liberate Virginia, they find meaning in those words, and thus these things happen, and that's regrettable." Whitmer appeared remotely on ABC's The View and also described over-the-top rhetoric. Here's what she said on The View. "Fortunately, they foiled the plot, but it's very clear from the affidavits that it wasn't simply to kidnap. It was to put me on trial of some sort and then possibly execute me. That's the kind of thing you would expect to hear from a group like ISIS. And that's why when people refer to these groups casually as militias, we have to call it for what it is, and we have to call out domestic terrorism." So now you have the background of the story. I will repeat some of the same stuff as I covered. This will be so you can get a better picture of who they are. I know there were more arrested and added to this list. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them, and who was arrested first. Here's what I know about each of the men charged by authorities. The first are facing federal charges. Adam Fox. Fox was born in 1983 and is a resident of Grand Rapids, who apparently owned or operated a business in the western Michigan city. He appears to be the ringleader of this plot, who met with co-conspirators and surveilled Whitmer's vacation home. Early this year, according to federal charging documents, the FBI became aware through social media that a group of individuals were discussing the violent overthrow of certain government and law enforcement components. Among those individuals identified were Fox. Through electronic communication, Fox and Barry Croft agreed to unite others in their cause and take violent action against multiple states' governments that they believe are violating the U.S. Constitution. Federal officials accused Fox of reaching out to a meeting with the leadership from Michigan-based militia. Fox said he needed 200 men to storm the Capitol building in Lansing, Michigan, and take hostages, including the governor. He explained they would try the governor of Michigan for treason, and he said they would execute the plan before the November 2020 elections. He also participated in meetings in person as well on Facebook, court documents alleged. Federal authorities alleged Fox's unnamed girlfriend also attended the exercise. Barry Croft. Croft is a resident of Delaware. Federal authorities wrote that Croft on June 6, 2020 joined Fox and approximately 13 other people from several states in Dublin, Ohio. According to the federal criminal complaint, the group talked about creating a society that followed the U.S. Bill of Rights and where they could be self-sufficient. They discussed different ways of achieving this goal, from peaceful endeavors to violent action. At one point, several members talked about the government they believed were violating the U.S. Constitution, including the governments of Michigan and the governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Several members talked about murdering tyrants or taking a sitting governor. The group decided they needed to increase their numbers and encourage each other to talk to their neighbors and spread the message. Ty Garvin. Garvin was born in 1995 and is a resident of Heartland Township. And he also has property in Luther and Cadillac, Michigan. Federal charging documents said Garvin was a member of a militia group leadership and met Fox at a Second Amendment rally at the state capitol building in Lansing. Federal authorities alleged that Garvin was among the people who attended a firearms training in Canberra, Wisconsin, including an attempt to make an improvised explosive device. According to court documents, the FBI reviewed encrypted group chats that indicated Garvin with Fox and others planned on October 7th to make a payment on explosives and exchange tactical gear. Caleb Franks. Franks was born in 1994 and is a resident of Waterford. Federal authorities in court papers alleged that on July 7th of this year, Franks attended a meeting at a residence of a group militia member, but said that he was not cool with offensive kidnapping and added that he was just there for training, or words to that effect, according to the court papers. After the meeting, federal authorities alleged Frank still actively continued to participate in the kidnapping plot. Daniel Harris. Harris was born in 1997 and is a resident of Lake Warren. On July 18th of this year, Harris was among a group who met in Ohio, according to charging documents. The attendees, federal authorities alleged, discussed attacking a Michigan State Police facility. Federal authorities also accused Harris of saying during an encrypted group chat that have one person go to her house, knock on the door, and when she just answers, just cap her. Brandon Serta. Serta was born in 1988 and is a resident of Canton. On August 23, 2020, federal authorities alleged that Serta, among others, met at Harris' home in Lake Warren. The group had discussed concerns about being infiltrated by law enforcement, and all attendees were required to bring personal documents to confirm their identity. During the meeting, the group discussed surveilling the vacation home in preparation for attack on the governor, according to federal documents. Now, here are the men who is facing state charges. Paul Baylor. Baylor, 21, is from Milford. He is charged with providing material support for terrorist acts, gang membership, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. Baylor was arrested in Columbia, South Carolina, and state authorities in Michigan are attempting to have him extradited to the state. State authorities allege in court papers that Baylor, who was appointed the role of sergeant, had expertise in medical and firearms training and design tactical exercise for training for the Wolverine Watchman. Sean Fix. Fix 38 is from Bellevue. He is charged with providing material support for terrorist acts and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. Fix is in custody and his arraignment is pending. Eric Moeller. Moeller is 36 from Cadillac. He is charged with providing material support for terrorist acts and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. Moeller's bail was set at $250,000. Michael Knoll. Knoll, 38, is from Plainville. He is charged with providing material support for terrorist acts and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of felony. His cash bond is set of $250,000. William Knoll. Knoll, 38, is from Shelbyville. He is charged with providing material support for terrorist acts and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. A cash bond of $250,000 was set. State authorities allege in court documents that members of the Wolverine Watchmen, led by Michigan resident Adam Fox, went on to engage in the plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan by November 2020 national election. In preparation for this plot, Sean Fix, William Knoll, Michael Knoll, and Eric Moore all aided in physical surveillance of the governor's private vacation home. Several other members of this conspiracy are also being charged federally for their part in the plot to kidnap the governor. Pete Minusco. Minusco, 42, is from Minnesota. He lives with defendant Joseph Morrison. Minusco is charged with threat of terrorism, gang membership, providing material support for terrorist act, and carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of felony. Minusco and Morrison's bail was set at $10 million each. Joseph Morrison and Pete Minusco will have hosted multiple tactical training sessions with each and other members of the Wolverine Watchmen at their property. State court documents allege during these trainings, training was provided for members to learn and practice tactical maneuvers. The group has drawn upon their members individual skills for training, including tactical skills, medical knowledge, communication knowledge, and weapons expertise. Joseph Morrison, 26 from Reno. He lives with Minusco. Morrison is charged with threat of terrorism, gang membership, providing material support for terrorist acts, carrying or possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony. Minusco and Morrison, their bail was set at $10 million each. According to court documents, Morrison and Minusco are founding members of the Wolverine Watchmen. Morrison is considered Wolverine Watchman Commander and is known by the online handle as Boogaloo Bayou. Now, speaking of the Boogaloo Boys or the Proud Boys, during the first presidential debate, when moderator Chris Wallace of Fox News Sunday asked the president if he is willing to denounce white supremacy, he responded, "Sure, I'm willing to do that, but I would have to say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not the right wing. I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace." The president's response sparked an intense moment with the former vice president. Trump said, "Who do you want me to condemn? What do you want me to call them? Give me a name." Biden interrupted and said, "Proud Boys." "Proud Boys, stand back and stand by," Trump said. "But I tell you what, somebody has got to do something about Antifa and the left. Because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing problem." Now, just a few days ago, at a Trump train in San Antonio, Texas, Trump supporters who swarmed and surrounded a Biden bus. This has led to the FBI to investigate, and Trump to even tweet about it. And in this tweet, he says, "In my opinion, these patriots did nothing wrong. Instead, the FBI and justice should be investigating the terrorists, anarchists, and agitators and Antifa who run around burning down our Democratic-run cities and hurting our people." So, look, many of them are now facing charges for their actions. Speaking of actions of others, I will now bring up a future individual I mentioned about earlier. You now have the backstory of the plot to kidnap the governors. You have heard about how we the Patriots are getting a bad name from actions of others. So, to the FBI, this is, as we know you are watching, here's your next target, or mark. We have deemed him a target ourselves, not because he's a so-called patriot, but because he is hurting the rest of us. I have told you that I will not tolerate any fake patriot who might get some people hurt or killed. This shit is no game. This shit is real. Your action has consequences. Now, for our featured individual, this one individual is no exception. His name is Michael Perrin Sr. On November 1st at 01:53, he put out a live video, 1 hour and 7 minutes long. He ran it like so many others, but in this video, he basically placed the men who plotted to kidnap the governors on a pedestal. He agreed with their actions and called for some of the same. He has even went so far as to tell you not to vote because it's the right Christian thing to do. Remember, folks, I will never encourage any acts of violence where innocent kids or adults may be harmed. This kind of action is not our way. We got to have honor, not planning shit like this. With today being election day, this video needed to be placed out. Let's move on to what Antifa is planning for election day and until inauguration day. Now, this video was sent to us by an unnamed source, and the Zoom meeting is called Shut Down DC, BLM, other left organizations coordinating multi-level coup action exercise utilizing insider help from the Democratic Party members as well as federal employees and intelligence contractors. This is a very short video, so let me go ahead and get it set up for you.
Inside the Sunrise Movement was able to obtain exclusive video footage inside Zoom chats where Shutdown DC, BLM, and other leftist organizations are coordinating a multi-level coup action exercise utilizing insider help from Democrat Party members as well as federal employees and intelligence contractors.
I'm a management and programs analyst.
I work in the national security community.
I spent 3.5 years as a contractor at DHS HQ.
If you read the mainstream press, like they all have Signal accounts, text them, leak everything you can. The journalists I've dealt with have been super ethical in ways to shield me, to be the source of the leaks.
Groups on the outside being able to show solidarity with federal workers,
Making sure that we're naming what is happening as a coup.
Totally agreed in the Shutdown DC conversations that I've been having. That's not on the federal side. We also are often saying, call it a coup.
They plan to shut down Washington, D.C. and other major U.S. cities starting November 4th until Inauguration Day.
Do we have any plans for how to respond if there's a coup?
Come to BLM Plaza anytime after 4 p.m. on election night. On the 5th, we're going to shut down the White House.
Map the White House and know every access point so we knew we could blockade it.
On the 6th, we're going to shut down larger parts of Washington, D.C.
We've been working on a target map and a framework for scenario. So where are all the police stations? Where are all the key government buildings? Who are the Trump boosters?
Members of Congress that are coming in, we're going to meet them at the airports or at Union Station and send them back to where they came from until we deal with the situation that we're in.
We are going to be in a crisis, but we want it to be one that we are creating. Whoever's got the guns can win. Let's take over the buildings. If there are people that are willing to do that, we should support them. Get ready to shut your city down on the 4th or the 5th.
Regardless of who wins, the left plans to take over.
Now, you have seen that. I want you to know there's a list of planned cities to have riots in on election night. Just search the web and you will find it. It has even prompted Walmart to pull weapons and ammunition from shelves, only to have added it back a day later. The White House has now installed a new anti-crime fence just this last week in anticipation of unrest. The National Guard troops have been activated in 10 different states and another 14 expected to activate theirs. My final thoughts. Now I know this is a longer video than I normally do, but you needed to have been informed. As a patriot, I have seen so much over the years, and I will say, just be careful who you follow, like those that follow Fox and Croft. In regard to Mr. Michael Hernon Sr., it is men like him and so many others who gives us a bad name and black eye. I have said it and said it. We must clean up our act. That nasty ass beard only adds to the image that most of us is a bunch of uneducated rednecks. Look, Patriots, only because someone is on Facebook claiming to be a badass and beating their chest does not mean you got to follow them and lick their ass. I have seen it time and time again where people like that will get you locked up. They say they will be in the trenches with you and will have your six, but as soon as it gets real or hot, they will cry and bail out on you, leaving you holding the bag. I will say this one more time. If you do not change your actions, the United States Justice Department will have no choice but to deem all of us as a domestic terrorist. Regardless of what will happen, you should always be prepped and ready for whatever life throws at you. I mean, it does not have to be a natural disaster or some civil unrest. It could be something as simple as losing your job. A supply of food does help when you have no income for a little while. Remember your 4 B's, your beans, your bullets, your bandages, and your Bible. Your beans are for nourishment, for when you get hungry. Your bullets are for protecting and defending you and yours. Your bandages are for covering wounds on you and your loved ones. Finally, your Bible. During this lockdown and turmoil, you need to pray and pray now more than ever. Your Bible will do the other 3 B's mentioned above. So when you need nourishment, it will give it to you. When you need protection, your Bible can do that. For covering you and yours, it's in there. I want you to please think about helping support our page and our YouTube channel. You can find us on every major social media platform. I have down in the description on how you can donate through PayPal and all links mentioned in this video. I also have a line of cool Renegade Wears t-shirt that you may order direct by just messaging me on Facebook page, or you can go on over to uncensoredtshirts.com. That's uncensoredtshirts.com, and in the selection, see our products, you will find us there. While you're on uncensoredtshirts.com, you'll see something else you might like. Get it. I'm sure our sponsor will be grateful. On that note, Godspeed, Patriots. Renegade out.